And there we go. We are live on YouTube. If I press the right button and mashed all the stuff and all the satellites linking up in outer space, as Ron White says, looks like it's there. And Sherwin, you should be getting the notification bell and all
I got
that
it
stuff.
on the phone.
Boom, as it turns out. I need to tweet this out. So, Sherwin, you got to keep our guests entertained for a moment here.
Sure. Yeah. So I just want to kind of reiterate and expound upon what Rusty said about this not really being an interview. We're not journalists. We invite people on this show to talk to them about the things that we like and the things that they like in an effort to get to know them. And, it's we take a lot of inspiration from a whole bunch of different podcasts that we really like that are just long-form conversations, and we try not to have a whole lot of boundaries around what we're going to talk about. We do write ourselves notes just to make sure that we don't have a whole lot of those ums and ahs and pauses, and I don't know what I want to talk about next.
Oh, yeah. Like, actual real notes is maybe 15 lines or 20 lines of stuff. Otherwise, it's... we'll just figure it out as we go. And sometimes it makes us feel a little anxious, but we've been doing it 228 episodes, and eventually it seems to work out okay. So, is what it is. Let's see. We got Jumpy Bob on. I'm sure Roger will show up here in a moment. And Liz, you can hear us okay?
I can hear you.
Awesome. So, that stuff is working. Things are working. Looks like people are joining. Yeah, very cool. And like I said, if you saw the link or whatever, we just tweeted it out, and I think you're tagged in it. You're more than welcome to see our ugly mugs sitting here talking and having fun. Just a couple more minutes, we'll have some folks join us, and we'll get this thing started. Let's see. I'm just taking a look at the show notes, making sure all that stuff is there. There is one scripted part, and that's at the very beginning. I try to say our intro as fast as I possibly can, and try to do it in one breath. But we'll see. We'll see how we're doing tonight. Let's see. There's that intro. Drinking. Liz. Report card. Done. All right. I think we're ready to roll. Sherwin, are you ready?
Yep.
All right, Liz, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Like I said, we'll disappear for about 90 seconds here, and then we will be right back with you. You'll hear us bring you in and everything. Looking forward to it. Here goes nothing. Recording now. Welcome, yo! That's right. This is the Pregame Engineer Tailgate Mirror Racing Podcast, episode number 228. It's Tuesday, January 21st, 2020. I'm Tailgate Mirror Rusty Wallace. I'm in the PTM Podcast studio with Pregame Engineer Andrew Sherwin. What's up, dude?
Well, it's colder than all the things we're not supposed to say on public radio outside right now. We certainly appreciate our guests being here.
That's right. Oh, boy. It's we'll get through it. I had to turn, we started a fire last night for the first time, so...
You needed it.
No kidding. Well, y'all, we got a great guest tonight. We're looking forward to talking with her. Before we do, y'all know what the deal is. This podcast is sponsored by you. That's right. You go to patreon.com/PTM. Join the What You Drink Club for as little as $1 a month to get that free koozie and some stickers. Best part is, every cent this year, we're once again donating to sponsoring drivers. So join the PTM Posse today. Be a part of the sport you love. This week's show, as always, brought to you by our official sponsors at the $5 and up per month level. Those are Aaron Bearden, Robert Kevler, Coleman Clam, Eric Kevner, Ryan Kiefer, Patrick Cleary, Jeff Brown, Brandon Crowd, Kathleen McDonald, Stacey Wright, Brandon Carl, Rika Porter, John Bob Les Miller, Julie Bosley, John Pearson, Eddie Greer, III, Youngster Motorsports, David Mullins, Patrick Johnson, Brett Morris, Crystal Smoke, Fred Rosado, Chad Knapp, Stacey Coleman, Matthew Kemper, Lisa Chanana, Rick Houston, Sarah Anbari, and Evan Rolla. I had some extra ahs there, Sherwin. Sorry. Sherwin's choking on it. He's so happy he's coughing it out.
I wasn't ready for that finish there. That was good.
Yeah, it worked out perfect. Oh, well, we already said it, but we're super excited about our first-time guest tonight. Very special guest. She's a Nashville recording artist who just dropped a new single called Hate This Song. You can find her on Twitter at Liz Moriondo. It's Liz Moriondo. Liz, what's up?
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, thanks for being on. We are so excited. We say it to every new guest. we are always amazed when we ask people to come on this ragtag. We told you before the show started that, it's held up by mud and staples and spit and bubble gum. And for somebody to come on our mud and staples show, it's always surprising to us in a good way.
Well, don't forget the duct tape, and that's all of us. We're all held up by that. So I'm very honored to be a part of it, and I think it's great that you guys do this. So thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. Well, we did give you a little preview about the way we start the show every time. Liz, what are you drinking on tonight?
Well, I'm just having an easy night at home. I'm in my pajamas, on the couch, drinking water. I went to the gym today, so I'm trying to be a good girl and just have water tonight.
Well, that's better than... I might be able to speak for two of us. I'm going to the gym part.
I didn't go to the gym.
I did not either. So you're rocking it.
Sure. A nice glass of wine sounds pretty good right now. If I hadn't just gotten on the elliptical for 30 minutes, I probably would be indulging in that.
Sherwin, what do you got tonight?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned bubblegum in your discussion about how we're all held together, because it reminded me of the butler from Home Alone 2 when he pulled the gum out and said, I still have some tip left. Well, I still have some Christmas present left from one of our Patreon supporters, Eric Kepner. I've got a Dragon's Milk white bourbon barrel stout. Or white stout, excuse me.
That's fantastic. The white stout thing, it's coming around. The first time I had one, like you pour that in a glass, and it's clear. It looks like it's going to be either an ale or some white beer or something, and you take a drink and you go, whoa, this is different.
Yeah, you could hand that to someone who thinks they're getting a Bud Light, and they'll be like, what in the hell is this?
What have you done to me?
Because that's what it kind of looks like when you pour it out.
Yeah. Now, Liz, what's your typical go-to? Now, you said wine a little bit earlier. Is that the drink of choice?
Well, I mean, I'm a wine girl, but I'm also a whiskey girl. I like my whiskey and my wine. So,
okay.
I drink a lot of TX, which I don't know if you guys are familiar with that brand. That's my favorite kind of whiskey. It's only you can only buy it in Texas, and I'm kind of obsessed with it, and it's probably a good thing that you can only buy it in Texas because, Lord have mercy, I'd be spending all kinds of money on that if it was around here.
TX, Sherwin, we're going to have to see if we can find that somehow.
We'll have to figure it out.
And we have somebody that we can introduce you to talk about whiskey. Ain't that right?
Faux show.
Really?
Yeah. Been on our show several times, Sherwin.
Yeah, I'm actually at a brain loss for who that was, but... Juliet Miranda. Yeah. Sorry, Morning Neurosis is her podcast. She does a little 25 to 35-minute storytelling show where bourbon is a big theme of the process.
Juliet is awesome. She has turned me on to multiple whiskeys, too. I used to travel a ton, and we'd have her on the show, and I go, okay, I'm going up to New York next week, and I'm going to a bar. I need to order something that's not like, you walk in and you start ordering Pappy, and you look kind of like like, oh, what's that guy doing, But if you order something that people are like, ooh, what'd he get? He must know his whiskey. So she's an expert.
Yeah, what was the one? It was Booker's? Is that the one that she was really...
Oh, it might have been Booker's.
Oh, yes,
right on
yes.
that?
We actually got some Booker's for... my husband and I got married almost 2 years ago, and that was one of our wedding presents was the Booker's whiskey, and we only drink it on our anniversary. Nice. So we've only opened it one time so far.
Nice.
Well, looking forward to the next one, I'm sure.
Well, Liz, you mentioned Texas. You're from Missouri, is that right?
I am from Missouri, live in Nashville, Tennessee, but I've spent quite a bit of time in Texas, played at the Texas Motor Speedway actually a couple times. I know you guys are big into the NASCAR, and I've been down there, and it's an amazing track, and it's been a lot of fun. We've had a lot of fun traveling around to a lot of the NASCAR tracks across the U.S.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, well, not surprisingly, we have a pretty decent little following of NASCAR fans from the state of Texas. Of course, it's a big state.
That's right. And been to Texas Motor Speedway. We have not been ourselves. I know. It's on the list. They've got that big hoss, right? The big screen TV.
Oh
there.
Yeah.
That, everything's big in the Texas deal. So what was the music scene like growing up in Missouri for you?
Well, I mean, the music scene that I grew up in. I grew up in the Bible Belt of America,
Mm-hmm.
Southwest Missouri. I'm right on the edge of Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Kansas. And so the music scene for me looked like singing in the choir on Sunday morning for the most part. Um, I grew up singing in church, and I grew up, singing the national anthem at sporting events. And
Oh,
I
cool.
didn't really know much about the music scene in the area until I started coming back from Nashville and really being introduced to it. Lake of the Ozarks is a big music scene in Missouri, and
Yeah.
that's one of the places that actually caused me to go ahead and pull the trigger to move to Nashville back in 2010. So, Lake of the Ozarks is a lot of fun. It's a big party. Of course, it's kind of a seasonal thing because it's in the summertime, but it's nothing compared to Nashville. I mean, Nashville is the place to be if you want to be in the music scene. There's just no other place like it. And I've been there since 2010, and I've seen a lot of changes in the city, but it's still a small town to me.
Now, you just mentioned it, moving to Nashville. What was it like moving to Nashville? Is it kind of, you took it in stride, or you just, the first time you walked down, oh, shoot, what's the name of the street there?
Broadway.
I was going to say Broadway. Was it just a whole, like, life-altering experience?
Yeah, I mean, they call it Nash Vegas for a reason.
Right on.
Tons of neon lights and lots of rhinestones, and it's interesting. It's something that you definitely need to see at least 2 or 3 times, not just once.
Well, I got a
But
couple more to go then, I think.
Yeah. I think I've done 3 times now.
Okay.
Okay.
Boy, we've had fun every single time. The first 2 times I wasn't 21 yet. Or no, the first time I wasn't. The second 2 times I was, but the second time I was with my family. Third time was with Sherwin.
Yeah, right. We went to the Music
Oh,
City
that's
Bowl
awesome.
back in like
That's
2013, and
Yeah.
it was as cold as it is here right now.
Oh, my
but we must have hit every bar out there just to
man.
hear one song and then get one drink and go to the next spot.
It is so
Sure.
cool to be in a place that every bar has the music that you like. You know what I mean?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, and there's so much talent there that no matter what bar you step into, look, they're going to be amazing.
Mhm.
Like it's not going to disappoint.
What's your favorite places to play at in Nashville?
Well, the Bluebird, it would have to be
Bluebird.
my number
Okay.
one. I mean, the Bluebird Cafe is just it's its own animal. And after the show Nashville came out, it's become a lot more touristy. It's a lot harder to get in, but it's always been hard to get in. It only seats about 40 people, between 40 and 50 people. But there's just something magical about the room. Of course, they want you to play original music. That's all they'll let you play is original
That's cool.
music. And it's a listening room, so people aren't in there to drink and be loud and talk over you while you're singing. Like, people are there to listen, and you sit in a circle and everyone surrounds you, and you can just feel the magic. Like, if you say a really good line or you hit a really really beautiful note, you can just feel the whole room sort of elevate, and it's unlike any other place I've ever played. And that's just a small acoustic little setting, So it sometimes it's the smallest places where you have the most intimate connection with the audience that are the most fun for me.
Man, it feels like I've been taken there. I can't sing a lick, but I will karaoke like nobody's business.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But yeah, man, I just got goosebumps thinking about that. And so it's like you sit in the middle, and they're kind of surrounding you, kind of place.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So there's usually 4 people in the round, is what they call it, in
Uh-huh.
the round. And they set up the 4 chairs in a circle, and each person takes a turn playing a song. It's usually a 2-hour show, so each songwriter gets about 7 or 8 songs, and I would sing, and then the next person, and the next person, and the next person, then me, then the next person, and you just go in a circle, and it's right in the middle of the room, and so then the audience is built out from the circle, and they sit around you.
That's really neat. So, as tends to happen with this show, a question will pop in your head as we're going. That's why we don't like to write really, construct type notes. Right. And I would
Sure.
never ask you to pick your favorite, but we know based on all the things that we paid attention to in country music is there are a ton of singer-songwriters that really never get exposed to the mainstream. Are there some people that you worked with that you're just like totally in awe of, and who are those people?
Oh, I mean, I feel like every day, you write with so many different people, and everybody is so talented and gifted in their own way, and it's also something that you have to hang on to and remember is, that everyone's different than everybody else, and each person has something to offer. And instead of looking at it as a competitive industry, you look at it as something that we all help each other because we're all different and unique, and we have something else to offer that someone else doesn't, and vice versa. But yeah, I mean, I feel very fortunate to have written with some really great writers who have been, successful in the last few years. But one of my all-time favorite songwriters in Nashville is a guy named Steve Mitchell. And I mean, the only difference between him and a hit songwriter in Nashville to me is the title of having a #1 song. He's truly, truly an amazing songwriter, person, musician, and he and I together have probably written over 350 songs, just the two of us. So he would be my favorite in Nashville, I would have to say.
Well, you heard it here, y'all. Go check him out. I'm sure there's some stuff out there. I just listened to Chris Shiflett's podcast with Robert Earl Keen, which I think they recorded about 4 months ago. But I recognize the name, and he's considered to be one of those original Texas guys that went to Nashville for a little while and just said, I think I'm going to go back to Texas and do the Texas stuff. But certainly the road goes on forever was a major topic of the discussion. So very much interested in hearing about all those neat behind-the-scenes country music stuff.
Yeah.
Or Americana is the name of his podcast, by the way.
Yeah. Were there any starstruck moments? Have you met anybody in Nashville and gone, I can't believe I'm talking to this person?
Yeah, you guys are going to laugh, though. It's kind of funny. In Nashville, there's a lot of famous people just out and about, hanging out in a bar, having a drink, or running to the mall to get some makeup, or sitting in the Starbucks having a cup of coffee. Like it's surprising how often you will see famous people just out. But my most starstruck moment would have to be, oh gosh, I guess it was 6 or 7 years ago at a CMA after party at Warner Brothers. I was at Warner Brothers record label in Nashville, and of course Tim McGraw's there, Faith Hill's there, and I'm just cool. I'm not freaking out. And David Freese shows up, and I don't know if you guys know who he is or if you follow baseball much at all, but the David Freese hit the home run for the St. Louis Cardinals that allowed us to win the World Series that year. And I was a huge fan, and I totally had I was a fangirl, and I fangirled him so hardcore, and I walked up and I was like, this is so annoying, but can I take a picture with you? And a lot of people, of course, didn't know who he was. I mean, we're in Nashville. Yeah, he gave an award on the CMAs, but they're like, who is this person? And that was who I got starstruck about, was David Freese from the St. Louis Cardinals, which he doesn't play for them anymore, but at the time he did.
Now, that's funny. You walk past Tim McGraw and walk past all these other people, and there's David Freese.
I know. Isn't it funny?
I love it.
Ridiculous.
I love it. So we probably spent 30 minutes in our last show just talking about local eating joints and food and stuff, because it's the off season.
You're
we don't have
speaking
a whole
my
lot,
language.
Yeah, we don't have a whole lot of NASCAR to talk about. What are some of the places back home that folks aren't going to know about unless they've been there, that you just got to go to when you're in the Ozarks?
Lambert's. Have you guys ever heard of Lambert's Cafe?
Yes, we have, and I'll tell you why.
Okay. It's
So,
kind of famous.
I'm glad that we already circled around to this, because I was going to definitely close with it before we let you go. The reason why our NASCAR folks they're hearing the word Ozarks, if they don't know the region that well, the reason why that NASCAR fans who aren't from that area would know about Lake of the Ozarks is that's where Blake Shelton and Elliott Sadler and Clint Boyer go to rock the summertime when they get an off weekend. And we've heard lots of stories.
Right.
Yeah, and if any of you are Netflixers and you watch the show Ozark, also about Lake of the Ozarks, great show.
Yeah, that's next on the binge list for me. I got to finish up Longmire first.
Yeah, that was a big one. I mean, I recognize if old Rusty recognizes it. It must
Well, it was
be
one of those
something.
improv guys is the lead thing, and it's like a total drama as opposed
Oh, yeah?
to being like making fun of stuff.
Huh. Well, that's cool.
It'd be someone you'd heard of. I just can't generate the name off the top of my head.
No, it's cool.
Maybe Liz can. I don't know.
I don't know.
But Liz, you're no novice to NASCAR. You've played, if I read your bio right, you've played at Bristol, Charlotte, Chicago, New Hampshire, Michigan, Texas, and Kentucky. Me and Sherwin have been to some tracks, but I think on that list there's 4 tracks we hadn't been to.
Yes, so that is correct. We have been all over the east side of the United States and the south, I feel like. And it was such an amazing experience. I did it for 2.5 years. And I got to see some really, really cool places, got to meet some really neat people. And I would love to go back and do it again. I hope that sometime in the future there will be an opportunity to get back out there and return to that scene. The fans are amazing, and just the people that you get to be around, and they're down to earth, just genuine, there to have a good time kind of people. And, I play country music, so being in that scene, it all just kind of goes hand in hand. Country music and NASCAR and drinking beer. I can't think of anything that goes together better.
Well, a lady after our own hearts right there.
Right.
So which one was your favorite track?
Bristol has always been my favorite, I have to say. I love how short it is. Like, I just love how on top of you it is. And, you can't talk during the race at all. Like, you literally just cannot talk unless you're screaming or you're writing it down on a whiteboard. Like, it's hilarious, being in the infield, trying to order a drink at the little moonshine bar, in the center. Right. They literally have whiteboards so that you can write down what you want because nobody can hear you. But it's just so, I don't even know how to explain it. It's intimidating. It's kind of scary, but it's exciting at the same time. So Bristol's probably my very favorite. I'm partial, I guess. I think that it's so fun, and it's been my favorite all along. Not to mention I got to sing the national anthem there, and so that's what I mean by being partial. I also, in addition to performing in the fan zone, I got to sing the national anthem at the Xfinity race, and that was a moment for me for sure.
What year was that?
That would have been in 2017, I think. 2016.
Well, we would have been there. As it turns out.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah. We've been going to Bristol since.
Mine first was 2008. Yours was 2009.
Wow. So we've been over a decade. Yeah. Holy cow. I guess it makes sense because Sherwin shows up at the house now the day before, and I mean we don't even start packing the truck or even think about packing till I don't know 30 minutes before we leave, and it's just like, well, we put this, and this. We know exactly what it takes to get to Bristol, and we drive ourselves up there 5.5 hours or so, but stop along the way in Nashville, grab us a beer and a brew. Not a beer and a brew, a burger and a brew.
Burger and a brew.
Yeah, or a beer and a brew. Beer and a burger and a brew. So we would have definitely seen you at the Xfinity race. That's awesome. So there you go.
That's so crazy. Proximity. Yeah, so you can actually find the video on YouTube. I'm pretty sure that there's a video of me singing the national anthem there. It's either there or the New Hampshire race. I can't remember which one was filmed. One of them was televised. That might have been New Hampshire. I can't remember, but I got to do it at New Hampshire and Bristol. And so if you go just like YouTube search for Liz Moriondo National Anthem NASCAR race, it should come up. It was on TV, and it was really neat.
Well, I'm convinced that while Rusty and I were spitballing before we connected with you, I was convinced that maybe I had found you on Twitter. But the reality is, I'm sure that it was probably more related to seeing you on TV. And then I wonder who this person is. Yeah. And then I found your YouTube channel, and I found your Twitter handle, and then now here we are.
That's right.
Here we are.
Well, Sherwin mentioned TV. Tell us about the TV stuff.
Yeah. So in 2014, I had a video go viral on YouTube and Facebook. I'm sure everyone that is listening is familiar with the Meghan Trainor song, All About That Bass.
That's the first one I saw.
Growing up in Southwest Missouri, I grew up in the outdoors, hunting and fishing. And, of course, Springfield, Missouri is the birthplace of Bass Pro. And so Where I come from, it's not all about that bass, it's all about that bass. And I wrote a parody to the song, which is all about bass fishing and Bass Pro, and it went viral with over 12 million views. And amidst all of that taking place, I got to be on some outdoor television shows and killed my first buck in Tennessee on one of them. And so it was super cool. Opened up a lot of doors for me.
That's neat. And what I loved about that video was that there was no bass in it. It was like the ukulele.
Ukulele, that was it. It was just me and my friend Steve Mitchell, who I was talking about, the amazing songwriter, with the ukulele in the kitchen. And it went viral, like, of all things. Who knew? You know?
Well, there it is. Full circle all the way back around to old Steve. That's fantastic. I did not know that was him in the video as I was sitting there watching. He's probably tagged in the video, and I didn't notice. But, yeah, that's pretty cool. You told us in the pre-show that you've met a few drivers. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so Brad Keselowski was one that I got to meet several times. The stage that I performed on at the NASCAR races was sponsored by Webasto and Bass Pro Shops. And Brad, being sponsored by Webasto, would come up and oftentimes speak, to the crowd on the stage in between sets. And so I got the chance to meet him. And I've spent quite a bit of time with Richard Childress and Ty and Austin Dillon. They would occasionally get up and speak, with their relationship with Bass Pro. And actually, surprisingly, this was really neat. But a few years ago, I got to play a private event. There was a birthday party for one of the Dillon boys, and got to perform and be a part of that. So that was a really, really neat experience to spend some time with them and just, get to see what they're like off the track, Mm-hmm. But those are some of the main. Tony Stewart, he was another one that I have met several times, and it's interesting. They're so different off the track than what you would think. A lot of times, it's surprising.
This is where we get starstruck because, just sort of as a comment at the end of the sentence, you're like, oh, yeah, and Tony Stewart, hung out with him. And we're like, duh.
Oh, gosh. No, I don't mean it like that.
No.
I just, they're just regular guys like we are. Yeah. And that's what I always tell people, too. Like, if I ever got to that level of stardom, I would still just be, Liz Moriondo from Small Town USA. Like, we all are. And it's neat to get to meet somebody like that and really get to see what they're like when they're not in their star quality on screen personality.
Yeah. Now, if you've been to a bunch of tracks, by the time that me and Sherwin had been to the number of tracks that I just listed out, and maybe you've even been to more, we had plenty of wild and crazy stories that come out. What's a story of yours that pops into mind from the NASCAR days?
That I can tell on YouTube. No, I'm just kidding. Oh man, that's a good one. That's a good one. I wish I had one that I could just like rattle off that was like super funny. Well, I do have one that's kind of funny or I really put my foot in my mouth. It was at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, and I got to go up in one of the suites and hang out and watch the race. And Mike Fisher was there, mm-hmm. who, is he's a hockey player for the Nashville Predators.
Carrie Underwood's husband.
Also married to Carrie Underwood, yes. And he was in the suite with us, and I walked up to him, and I was like, oh my gosh, aren't you Carrie Underwood's husband? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, can I take a picture with you? But I felt later I walked off and I was like, you idiot. Are you Carrie Underwood's husband? How about, are you Mike Fisher, the famous hockey player? Like, it was so insulting. I felt so awful, but he just took it all in stride. I'm sure he gets that a lot, but yeah. that was kind of a me sticking my foot in my mouth moment.
So I'll interject here really quickly. How many more times does Aaron Rodgers get recognized as Danica Patrick's boyfriend, or Danica get recognized as Aaron Rodgers' girlfriend?
That's what I was going to ask. It's funny that in that
Well,
circle.
I couldn't even think of his name. I couldn't even think of Mike Fisher's name. I'm just like, you're Carrie Underwood's husband. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Can I take a picture with you?
That's
like,
funny.
You're
though.
more famous for that than anything.
In that circle, that makes sense, And then they probably go play hockey somewhere in wherever they're not listening to country music, and then suddenly it's, oh, you're Mike Fisher's wife. Like, well, I also have this, amazing country music career, but sure.
Right.
They got married on Lake Oconee in Georgia, by the way.
Well, how about that? So throwback to where old Rusty and Sherwin are sitting. Well, we're not sitting in Lake Oconee. That'd be nice.
It would be.
It might be freezing or it might be frozen.
Oh, it would
at this
be
point.
cold as you know what.
Yeah. We're not
well
not going
diggers
outside.
and witches and
right. Did this cold snap hit y'all in Nashville too?
Yes, we actually had a dusting of snow yesterday, of all things, which does not happen in Nashville. But, it was, if school hadn't already been canceled because of Martin Luther King Jr., it totally would have been canceled because of the dusting.
Yeah.
If they start calling for snow, they cancel school in Nashville.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's the way Atlanta is, too.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
here in Atlanta.
It has to be. You can't afford that sort of removal infrastructure in a city where it only snows once every 4 years.
Right. Now, let's get to it. Liz, you just released a new single called Hate This Song. Tell us about it.
Yes, so Hate This Song is a done me wrong song. And if you listen to it, it's a song written about a song that hasn't been written yet. I know that sounds confusing, but when you listen to it, you'll understand what I mean. But it's a song saying, I'm going to write a song about what a piece of crap you are and how you did me wrong, and I hope you hate it.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. I'm going to go back and listen to it with that in the forefront of my mind. You did tell one really funny joke in that song. Related to a particular part of the male anatomy.
Yes. Yes. Well, no offense, guys, but it's an easy target.
We know as well as anybody.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. See, guys will just kick each other there, as a thing or whatever. But
cup check.
Yeah. The ladies will go there on the mind level that really gets.
Oh
us
yeah,
down.
they really stab you right in the heart.
Now, what does your husband think when you come out with hey, I've got this great new song. Listen to this, and talking about how you're gonna hate this song that I'm fixing to write about you.
I know, right? Well. I think he knows that he should never cross me because I'll write a song about it. But no, he takes it all in stride. I mean, he knows me well enough to know that all my songs are loosely based on a true story. So a lot of my songs are real life experiences that I've been through, or maybe someone close to me has been through and they've told me their story and I've been inspired to write about it. And so, you have to respect the song itself too. And a lot of people get caught up and wanting to make things literally exactly like they were. And it's more important that you respect the craft of the song than you do the literal interpretation of word for word what happened. So, loosely based on a true story. That's about as much as I can tell you. I
like the way you put that, because Rusty and I pay a lot of attention to stand-up comedy. And those guys get themselves in trouble all the time because they've written something they believe to be funny and somebody doesn't like it for this, that, or the other reason. And it's like, this wasn't meant for you.
Right.
It was supposed to be funny.
Right.
Or in your case, and obviously there's a very famous singer-songwriter who has done a lot of that in the public eye of creating targets out of their previous misgiving relationships. Oh, yeah. She's fixing to be on the cover of Vanity Fair. I'm sure y'all will be able to figure that out very quickly. But yeah, I mean, I think that hell, it's probably how you inspire your mind to create the most poignant lyrics, is writing about something that happened to you.
Yeah. Was this a song that you knew you wanted to sing about and then the lyrics came, or was the music first? I'm curious about the life cycle of the song, if you will.
That one. And most of the songs that I write, the music comes first. And and that one, the music came first too. I had the title, like I wanted to write a song that was like a song about how I hope you hate this song I'm going to write, which sounds kind of crazy until you start actually, trying to wrap your head around it. And, but most of the time music comes first for me. If I hear a song on the radio and I don't care how good the lyrics are, if the melody isn't pretty or I'm not attracted to it, I'm probably going to change it before I even give the lyrics a chance. So to me, the melody really has to kind of hook me and loop me in first. And, that's not to say that I won't go back and re-listen to something because it's very well written lyrically. But if I'm just scrolling through on Scan, I'm not going to stop because I'm only going to stop if the music hooks me, honestly. And then I'm going to see if the lyrics are intriguing to me or not.
I'm always amazed at the process of coming up with a new melody altogether. The very little music that I've ever tried to, I'll say, create has been like, you kind of start with this one thing and then, I just did Stairway to Heaven poorly. But, like I can't get any other song out of my head to do it. It's amazing to just be able to kind of jam a little bit. From what I've heard or seen from other people, you're just kind of jamming a little bit. You hit on a note, you hit on a tune, and hey, I like this. How can I fill that in? Is that sort of your process too?
Yeah, and it is a struggle to not step on a melody that's already been written. I mean, there are so many songs that have been written, and it's very easy to accidentally do something like that. So I co-write a lot, and in co-writes, you have at least one or maybe two other people who are kind of keeping that in check. Like, oh, that sounds familiar. That kind of sounds like such and such. What if we chose these notes instead? Or if we adjust it like this, or, different ways of keeping everybody off of other melodies. But everything is kind of recycled too in the music industry. I mean, lyrically too. You hear a new song on the radio, it's probably not the first time that idea has ever been written. It's a new way of saying it, but it's not the first time somebody's written that idea. So, you have to find clever and creative ways to sort of reinvent a really great melody or a really great hook idea.
That's fun. I could sit here and listen to you talk about the creation of songs so long. I love that creative process. It's something that, I work in software. Sherwin is in textile industry, and it's like the things that we do are math and math and computer programming stuff, and then we come in here and put on our NASCAR hats and pretend to be rednecks for a little while.
Something like that.
Pretend.
Yeah, everybody's a little redneck, so we embrace that part of it.
I mean, yeah. So I tell this story probably way too often, but I watched the Eagles documentary so many times, and it just amazed me how much just one guy has been working on something to help his fingers loosen up. Joe Walsh is famous for this, and Don Henley and Glenn Fry would turn it into a #1 hit overnight. They just write the lyrics overnight, just based on a lick.
Yeah.
And I don't have that musical talent, so it's very hard to fathom, but it obviously exists.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't. And sometimes it happens that way. And sometimes it's a real struggle. I mean, I usually sit down in a 3-hour window block to try to write a song with a co-writer at least. By yourself, there is no specific time that you really have to set. But I usually try to separate my writes into 3-hour blocks, and sometimes we'll finish it in 45 minutes, and sometimes we'll finish it in a year after 4 or 5 other 3-hour blocks, so it really just kind of depends. The best way that I can explain it too is allowing yourself to be open to the muse. I firmly believe that there are tons and tons of great ideas out there swirling around, and it's up to us to be the vessel to carry them out. And just being able to open yourself to the ideas and be the mouthpiece for those great ideas, because they're out there. They're just waiting for someone to speak them into existence.
Boy, I don't know how to follow up on that other than let's talk about a little NASCAR.
Thanks. Okay.
And we're gonna bring Liz right into it. Oh, hey, I paused it. There's the sound effect there. Liz, we'll drop in a few questions for you here as we're going along. I know we don't have a whole lot of time with you. We'll get a couple in here. I'll move around if anybody's following along on the show notes. But Sherwin Larson winning the Chili Bowl finally, 13 years. He gets his W, and he says, "I'm sorry, NASCAR, but this is the biggest F-bombing race I've ever won." What do you think?
So what I think is, Kyle Larson's been saying this for 5 years, and this was his opportunity to say, for lack of a better way, we're not always couth here. Just shoot everybody the bird that has been critical of his desire to win that race. Maybe he could have gone about it a little bit differently, but if you win the most important race to you and you're not a little cocky when you get the mic stuck in your face, what are you?
Yeah.
You're an entertainer at that point.
It's I've gone back and forth just because he is a premier driver in a premier series. This is me speaking the devil's advocate part, and he quote unquote goes back to at least at one, and now it's kind of a national race, but is kind of a local sort of thing there in Oklahoma, in Tulsa, and wins it, and is all peacocking out proud of it. But to your point, these are the best drivers in that racing. So and they do this all the time, and he gets to do it every great once in a while.
He beat 339 cars,
as it turns out. So and now he certainly has the money and the other stuff behind it, but so do a lot of people. But anyway, I thought it was cool. See him win that thing, and I don't care what he says at that point. Liz, what would you consider your biggest win of your career so far?
Oh, you guys are asking good questions. And they did not prepare me for these, by the way. Just so everybody listening knows when I falter and fumble over myself. I was not prepared for these questions.
Well, maybe I'll send them out ahead of time next time.
Oh, man.
What felt like the biggest win at the time? How about that? You don't have to sum up your career and say this exact point, but you landed something and you're like, holy cow, this is going to be awesome.
I would probably say it would be the NASCAR thing. The NASCAR thing has been a really, really big win for me. And the relationship that I was able to develop with Bass Pro and how, that's flourished, and the relationships I built with Webasto and how that's flourished, and just that really catapulted me, I feel like. And, NASCAR is a professional sport, and I got to play on a professional sport circuit like that. That's a pretty big deal in my book. And I'm not saying that in an arrogant way by any means. I'm just saying that for me personally, that's probably been my biggest career win is getting to do that for 2.5 years and travel and see a lot of the U.S.
Well, that's super cool. Here we are on the NASCAR podcast, and biggest win is NASCAR. I love it. She might be kowtowing to the host, but that's cool. As long as when we say what's your favorite city and you say Atlanta, then we're all good.
If I were to pick something other than NASCAR, because I know that we are on a NASCAR circuit, but I did get to go on my first European tour last summer. Cool. And that was definitely a bucket list and a big, big deal to me. I got to go tour in Ireland for 12 days. So we played 10 shows in 12 days, and I got to travel all over the country and play a festival and meet some really awesome people. And
what are the Irish fans like?
Oh my gosh, they're so awesome. They love American music, and they're so thirsty for American music. I feel like they welcome original music, and we were exotic. So it was so interesting, being in the U.S. It's so exotic when someone from another country comes into play or do something over here. And it was just the same for them, and just super kind people, very welcoming, very warm. And it was an amazing experience. And the food was phenomenal too, which is important, as you all know.
Well, you're going to have to put together another Irish tour, because my sister's fixing to expat for 2 to 3 years in Belfast. And so I'm going to be going to Ireland at some point.
Oh, awesome. Yes, well, we are working on it. I mean, we're hoping to go back in 2020. We did a festival in August of last year. So there's a festival in June, there's another festival in August, and then we're looking at the fall as well. So we'll see which one kind of hits best with the schedule, and I'm hoping to get back out there again.
Sherwin, Rick Hendrick bought the very first Chevy C8 at auction. Now, the proceeds go to charity, if I can say the word. But chassis number 001 goes to Rick Hendrick for $3 million.
Wow.
On that thing. What kind of deal do you think number 002 got? Is that guy like, woohoo? It's a pretty good car.
He's probably going to get half of that.
Yeah.
You'd imagine if that thing still exists somewhere.
Yeah, no kidding.
Not completely wrecked.
Oh, man. Let's talk cars for a minute. Liz, what's your daily driver?
So I currently drive a Nissan Maxima Midnight Edition. So the black on black.
Black on black. I love it. Did you go seeking for that when you were looking for cars?
Well, it's kind of funny how it fell into our lap. I had gotten a rental car and they had messed up my reservation. And so because they felt so bad for messing it up and not having any of the cheaper cars, like I, of course, had tried to get, they were like, well, we're just going to upgrade you for the same price as the cheap car. And they gave me a brand new Nissan Maxima Midnight Edition to drive. And I got in it and I was like, okay, I'm kind of in love with this car. Might have to get one. And I don't know, it was probably like 2-3 months later we sold my car and got that. And I've been driving it now for about a year and a half.
We had a similar situation, almost exactly actually. Where was it? I think when we were out in Wyoming, and we got a Nissan Rogue, and that thing had like magic gas mileage. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And so we liked it a lot. Got back here a couple of years later. Wife needed a new vehicle, and it was like, hey, this one was pretty good, and there she is driving it around. So yeah.
That's funny. So you're a Nissan guy too. It was my first Nissan. Like I've always been an American-owned car person. I've been a GM girl, Chevy girl, and then I got that, and I was like, okay, I'm going to become part of the Nissan family here, and I love it.
Sherwin, we are 25 days from today to the Daytona 500. How about that?
Whoop, whoop.
Right? We're under 30 now. It was, I guess it would have been, 32 last time we talked, but under a month now. We got to come up with some plans and stuff. We got to talk about what our race schedule is so I can start calling off work.
I hear you. We do have a lot to talk about there, for sure.
Yeah. And, if Daytona's 25 days off, that means Atlanta is 25 minus carry the one with the double.
It's on the 17th.
So, yeah.
It's on St. Patty's Day.
That's right. So that's going to be coming up too. So looking forward to that. Liz, do you have any Daytona 500 plans?
I don't at the moment. I'm hoping to get down there. The NWTF is going to be taking place in Nashville the weekend after, and I have some Bass Pro friends who are coming out that week before and planning to fly down to Daytona, so I'm trying to work my magic, and hopefully it's going to work out. I've never been to the Daytona 500, so we'll see, but as of right now, no.
Okay.
But I'm hopeful.
Yeah, hopeful. And not to belittle any of our listeners who are avid hunters, but NWTF is the National Wild Turkey Foundation.
Gobble, gobble.
And turkey season ramps up pretty good down here in the southeast, late March, early April, somewhere around in there.
Yeah, right on. Well, you know what, Liz? We have kept you for much longer. I would say about 50% longer than we said we would. We've had a blast. We'll let you get going. Y'all stick around. We're going to talk a little bit more NASCAR, but we'll go ahead and let you go. Hey, tell the folks where they can find you. What's coming up on tour? Are you touring anything?
Absolutely, yeah. So I'm going to be touring all over the Midwest. If you head over to my website, you can see my complete tour schedule there, and that's lizmoriondo.com, spelled LIZMORIONDO, just in case you can't remember. And yeah, be sure to join my email list and follow me on all the social media platforms. I've got it all: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, you name it. So really appreciate you guys having me on tonight, and thank you so much.
Absolutely. And y'all be sure to check out that new single, Hate This Song. And it's awesome. I want this to come off as a compliment, but the first, like, 2 lines, it was like, this sounds like Shania. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll take that.
Yeah, it was. It's awesome. So, thank you so much for being on. We'll look forward to talking with you again sometime.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys. You have a good night.
You have a good evening.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon, Liz. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, folks, Liz Moriondo. That's awesome.
There you have it.
Yeah. She's such a good sport. She had another engagement earlier this year, and she was so apologetic to us about, I'm so sorry I couldn't. We were like, it's fine. We'll just sit here and talk NASCAR. It's all good. So she's been awesome, and it's a pleasure talking with her. So anyway, and I'm dead serious. Y'all go listen to that song. You'll think Shania is first, like in those first few lines. It's really cool.
It's country the way country sounded when we got into country.
Well, you got that right. That's the other thing that I didn't bring up this time, but maybe next time bring up what, about her style and stuff. Because her style, like you said, it's very much country when we got into country.
Yeah.
It's that throwback. I shouldn't even say throwback style. It's that style tailored to 2020.
Yeah. Well, and the conversation had so much momentum, I didn't get to another thing I wanted to say, which I should have written in the show notes, but sounds like we're going to get another opportunity to speak with her to ask what she thinks about some of the guys that we've been listening to, the Tyler Childers and the Cody Jinkses and the Paul Cawthons and Sturgill Simpsons of the world.
Well, Sherwin, let's move it back to the report card. Got a few more things to talk about. Bob Pockrass called it, because he's Bob Pockrass and he knows everything about what's going on. But Daniel Suarez announcing a ride with Gaunt Brothers Racing in 2020. This will be their first full-time entry into the Cup Series, and they had that 96 last year.
Parker Kligerman was in it a few times.
Yep. What should we expect, and what are their expectations, do you think, with Daniel Suarez and with this car being their first full-time season?
That's a great question, and it's hard to answer or even offer an opinion about, because obviously we know what that car is in general. We talked about this a lot with Bob's team over the last, call it 2.5 years, with how you get from, what Barney Visser was able to do to what Barney Visser was able to do when he went from anthology to winning a championship. Are they going to come out of the gate running top 15? No, that's just not realistic.
Right.
They're going to be fishing for that top 25, maybe come in 26th, 27th in points and be solidly above the cut line for losing charter. I don't know if they've acquired a charter. I apologize for not doing that.
A little bit of research. It's all good.
I would expect if they're planning on going full-time for the first time with a single driver that they probably have a line of sight at least to a leased charter, because that would be important for them to guarantee themselves a starting spot every week. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, first and foremost, happy to see Daniel Suarez back in a Cup car and be able to see him. He's got so much talent, and he brings so much, the diversity aspect I love about the sport. Shoot, I'm wearing Bubba Wallace shirt right now.
Right.
I mean,
it is important.
And so the reach that he has back home and everything else is fantastic. And so for his fans to be able to, continue watching him and everything else, I would agree. I think, top 20s I think they're in the reach for the driver that they have, depending on what kind of car. Do they have any what do you call it, alliances,
factory support, or
support
major team support? I don't know the answer to that question, and I honestly don't even know what make they're going to run. I believe they've been a Toyota team, but as you've noticed, Toyota tends to hyper-focus on a small select number of cars in order to have tremendous performance.
Right. So we'll see if any of that TRD, speaking of the performance stuff, ends up in that camp. Sherwin, the Truck Series expands to 10 teams from 8 in the playoffs. This is something, y'all know me. I'm the optimist guy here. I'm always saying, hey, this might be a good thing, or I enjoy this, or hey, I like change. I like it when NASCAR tries something, does something different. I saw this news and I immediately had a pessimistic response to myself, and then I don't think my opinion has changed in the last several hours since hearing about this news. That what really, I read what NASCAR is saying. Hey, we want to up the excitement level. We think we're leaving some excitement on the table. Blah blah blah. I just don't really buy it, to be honest. I mean, who are they expecting in that 9th and 10th spot to make a charge or anything else? Like I said, I'm pessimistic here. We talked about this. We just talked about it really with what are the expectations of a Daniel Suarez? What are the expectations of an 8th to 10th place team in the Truck Series? And it is not, their expectation is not win the championship, right? There's maybe 5 trucks, and that's probably being generous, that might have that expectation. Last year alone, there were, if I get it right, 11 drivers that ran all the races in the Truck Series. Now, that's not very fair to Ross Chastain, who came in a little later, but he's kind of an outlier there. So if you call him 12, this is almost, I read somewhere, a participation trophy. And so like I said, I'm in this weird position. I'm usually the optimist. Are you gonna change my mind on this, or are you gonna agree with me?
No, I'm not going to change your mind, because this to me was change for the sake of change. I don't know what the value of this change is. Mm-hmm. Obviously, NASCAR perceived there to be some modicum of value, but I'm very much in your camp of saying if there was 6 or 7 trucks of making it to Homestead with a chance to win a championship last year, whew! I mean, point them out to me. I know you can look at the win chart and say, well, we get there was these number of wins for these number of trucks. But then you look at the point totals and you're like, well, I don't know. I would say this seems unnecessary. Mm-hmm. It feels like change for the sake of change, I guess, is what I'm – it's kind of meh. How about that? Meh.
Yeah, meh. Yeah. I can be on board with meh.
I mean, the only thing I would say about it, and I had plenty of Twitter conversation, as you would imagine, is the only way we're going to know when we get to playoff time that there are now 10 cars eligible and they used to only be 8 is that NASCAR is going to cram it down our throat, that they have 10 now.
Sure, and there will be 10, and then those few will, I predict, will trickle out in the first round, or maybe somebody else.
We've seen it so much in Cup
but
and in Xfinity.
Yeah.
That they're just – I mean, the variable they introduced that makes it even more challenging for teams that don't compete on a weekly basis for top positions is this whole elimination rule, which means you basically can't have 2 bad races in a segment. Mm-hmm. It's almost – unless you win. And, well, guess what the hardest thing to do in any series to do is win the race.
Right. Well, and based on the Truck Series especially, I mean, there's only 4 or 5 guys who are going to do that.
Yeah, I mean, we had a real anomaly situation with Kraft in that he wins a championship without winning a race, and that's just in the trucks. That's probably as rare as you're going to find.
Yeah.
Situation where because you have to run up front at every single racetrack.
Yeah, but I think I think that team deserves an expectation of a championship. Not necessarily expectation, but expect to be running for one. How about that? I
would agree with you 100% on that. I think you have a driver and a team that has shown their capability over a course of a decade now.
Right.
That should be their expectation. And I see a bunch of other teams that, wow, you see some wins on the board, and I'll agree with you 100% that you need to throw a dart at the wall and say Ross Chastain, while he belongs in the conversation as a very capable driver, and he damn near pulled it off, but it was a fantastic anomaly in that what transpired last year
all
was
the things lined.
It was the sponsorship thing. That's why he changed his path. Is with JD Motorsports, he was not going to be able to get in as good as an Xfinity car as it appeared that he was going to be able to get in with the truck. We talked about it last year, how for the first 15 weeks of the season he'd run every single race that existed.
Existed. Yeah,
and so it probably was a very healthy decision for him to do that. Nice Motorsports certainly benefited from it. There is something I left out of the notes that we need to address before we go, in that Natalie Decker is going to be in a Nice truck for I think an undisclosed number of races next year.
Awesome. That's pretty cool.
So, I mean, that basically means she lost her full-time ride with the 54 truck.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Oh, bummer.
So there's two sides to that coin, and she needs to learn how to finish them. She got to finish first, you must first finish.
Well, there's that. Yep. No, I don't know. It feels like, to me, it cheapens the achievement of getting into the playoffs and the excitement leading up to the playoffs. If everybody's going to make it, then, what are we, the NBA or NHL or something? I mean, everybody makes it to the playoffs, and then we battle out from there. Okay, fine.
Well, yeah, especially in this little mysterious pods of elimination where you have wildly different racetracks that create different problems for different teams and different drivers. Yeah, I don't know what it means in the grand scheme of thing. I don't know that we're going to see it have any kind of significant impact. I don't think the 10th place team is going to show up at the very first playoff race, all of a sudden win, and now they're catapulted to the next round, and then you're going to have to do that again and again.
Right. Last topic here. Hinchtown is hinting at a NASCAR road course race. Any chance of a return of the ringer, Sherwin? Or, in my opinion, he's going to the best he can do is get in a car that is trying to finish in, I'll even say top 15, but probably not even that, because those are all full-time drivers.
I don't think those... Yeah, and I cut you off, and I apologize.
No, it's hard to say he would compete, I guess what I mean.
Yeah, and having never seen him or any kind of footage or conversation about him racing a stock car, if he's targeting Cup, he's missing his mark. He needs to be in an Xfinity car or a truck and just figure out how much wildly different it is to drive one of those kind of vehicles. Because you pitch the car so much differently in a stock car than you do in one of those open wheel winged Indy cars. So while I like the idea, because I've always liked crossover, I think it's good for both series to get that attention. Cup is not the place to do that.
That's a good point. And I think he could be competitive, and it would be a way more fun race to watch if he was in a truck. At a road course or and maybe one of those one-off road courses. And I think he could be competitive there. They could put him in something competitive.
Well, most sport makes the most sense since he's Canadian, and that's where the trucks run one of their 3 road course races. So I guess, or 2. I think they're going to the Roval this year. They're going to take all 3 of them there. But, it's just... Actually, I think somebody pointed out on whatever that there may be 5 now. They're trying to add more and make this thing a little bit broader type of a series. But yeah, I think he's got to, you can't realistic expectations. I think you got to talk. What you got to do is you got to go talk to Kyle Busch and say, I want to run your 51 R&D truck, and I want to do it at Mo Sport Canada.
Well, Sherwin, with that, it's been awesome. Liz was fantastic. It was great talking with her. If she's still listening in, hey, you're invited anytime. We've had an awesome time, and we've got a million more questions and stuff we want to talk about. So that was awesome. So thank you to Liz. Again, go listen to that new single there with "Hate This Song." And you know what? We'll let Sydney. Sydney, we ain't forgot about you.
Nope, we certainly have not.
She's gonna close us out. We're going to close this thing out. Y'all, thank you for joining. Thank you for hanging out. As always, PTMpodcast.com, at PTM Podcast on the Twitter handle. As always, I'm Tailgate Mayor Rusty Wallace at Tailgate Mayor.
And I'm at Andrew L. Sherwin on the Instagram, at Pregame Engineer on the Twitter, and I also man the PETM podcast Instagram as well.
Awesome. We will talk to y'all next week. It's going to be awesome. Thanks for joining. See y'all later.
Peace. Boom.
All right.
All right, well, Ali Sadiq is a full go.
Sweet.
Great seats left. I'm just waiting on Claire to let me know if she wants to go.
Oh, cool. Okay.
But we'll be center stage up front as long as I book by tomorrow afternoon.
That's fantastic. That's gonna be fun. Yep, as long as we stay away from the Soko shots.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be reiterated multiple times. Claire and I had that conversation last night. She's like, I'm never doing another Soko shot in my life. And I said, I'm not either.
I might do one, but I ain't doing one at that point. Y'all, last year for Sherman's birthday, this is PETM After Dark now.
Yeah.
We essentially went on a bender before the Bert Kreischer show.
Ooh, we got deep in it.
Yeah,
I mean,
it went bad.
deep in it.
Yeah, and
it didn't stop. I mean, it was wide open from when we got to the bar through the show and then through all the way to getting back home.
No kidding.
It was wide open.
Oh, my gosh. And we all woke up the next morning and we were like, no, like we had fun.
Yeah, what just happened?
Yeah, exactly. We had fun, but I ain't doing that ever again. And we went. When it got dark was when Waylon came around with Soko shots. Southern Comfort, y'all. Ooh.
I can do Fireball all night long, but that Soko and lime, boy, that stuff just turns my stomach.
You know what? It wasn't a stomach thing. It was just I didn't need to shoot anything at that point. And we had
we
or
were
three shots.
7 rounds in at that point.
Oh yeah,
it was not good.
It was a bad deal.
It was not the right method.
Man.
I mean, we'll probably pump the brakes a little bit this time. I'm sure we'll still get a little wild and crazy, but you know, we have to be somewhat coherent.
Well, this
by
is
6:20 on Sunday, my actual birthday.
Yeah,
for the Super Bowl.
That's right. It's going to be a much more intimate audience too. So if we're like obviously 16 sheets.
That's a good point. And you don't have to like do crazy things like bring 2 giant beers to your seat with you and then like not pee and like manage all of that. Like we're going to a Shona club, y'all, where like you have a server who brings you drinks, you know.
Yeah.
And there's like time lapse between when you finish yours and then you get the next one.
Yeah.
It's only a 90-minute show.
Yeah. We're gonna take a pee break. But yeah, that's.
But I would encourage any of you, if you don't know who Ali Sadiq is, and you do like stand-up comedy, you can spell his name Ali space Sidddik. Ali Sadiq.
I think it's a Q at the end.
Yes, you're right. Sorry, Q. I got the wrong letter stuck in my brain. It's Siddiq. There's a ton of stuff on YouTube. He has a Netflix special. He did it at a prison. It
was fantastic.
He's a former convicted felon from Houston who did a stint as a 19-year-old. He did 7 years in the Texas penal system for selling crack. But as a result, has a lot of really funny stories, and you realize very early on in his conversations that he's actually extremely intelligent.
Well, and he tells these stories, and it's almost like third person, but it happened to him. And so he takes you into this space, if you will, of all right, here's the deal. And so, man, if you go on YouTube, look up
Mexican Got on Boots.
Mexicans Got on Boots. Just
And
start with
then
that one. And
Mitchell,
holy
this ain't
moly.
going to be good.
Yeah. Those the Mexicans Got on Boots kind of made his career too, and opened a lot of eyes to this guy's got something to say, and it's really funny.
He knows how to tell like what should have been a really awkward story about his like first day in prison and make you just absolutely laugh your butt off.
Yeah, yeah. He's coming to Atlanta. Sherwin's got it booked. It's the day before his birthday, before Sherwin's birthday. So we'll time on a little bit. I do not need a Podbean 101 seminar, webinar, whatever. I don't need that.
Whatever that is.
Yeah. I know how to upload something. Thank you very much. I've got it. Been doing it 228 times, it turns out.
So that said, anybody in Atlanta that's listening and wants to come on February 1st to see Ali Sadiq at the Punchline in Atlanta, Georgia, I recommend. It's only a $25 ticket. You can get food and drink while you're watching very hilarious comedy.
That's right. And I'm just doing the old what have you here.
Yeah. That's why we always try to mention comedy in our shows, because it's important to me because it's another one of those like hobby type things. I listen to everybody on the if a comedian that I like has a podcast, I pretty much listen to it. I have so many of them subscribed on my phone that now I get to just cherry pick the guests. I don't have to worry about listening to every single one of them.
That's how I do Joe Rogan because he does like 3 hours at a time. So you're sitting down for a commitment. Even at 1.5x speed, you're sitting down. My favorite is when he has science people on, or big head people. Not that they're big headed, but that they are smart, I guess is the point.
Oh yeah, I mix it back and forth between the comedians and the nerds and the fighters.
Yeah. When he's got nerds on, holy mackerel! Because he brings up all the like conspiracy side of things, and the other person is telling him he's wacko. And
he's
really
got
funny.
Such a big platform. He can have Neil deGrasse Tyson on his show,
right.
And he like that actually elevates Neil deGrasse Tyson as opposed to the other way around.
Yeah. It's good.
I've been listening to Stone Cold's podcast lately. He's fun.
What's he got?
That's called the Stone Cold Show, I think is all it is.
Stone Cold Show.
And it's the same kind of thing where you can cherry pick. He doesn't just only talk to wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
He moves around a little bit. His podcast studio is in L.A., but he lives in Vegas on his ranch.
Okay. Is he like, I guess retired, quote unquote, in terms of, what he does for wrestling and everything?
Yeah. In terms of a wrestler, he's retired.
Right. I didn't know the way to ask it. I know, he's retired as a wrestler. Is he in wrestling? I didn't know.
He still talks good about the sport. He talks about, all of the things that wrestlers go through in terms of how they have to maintain their bodies, the things they need to do. Like he talked to a wrestler on the last one I listened to. It was all about stem cells and how these guys can really rejuvenate their bodies by using stem cells and not having to have spinal fusion and shoulder replacements and stuff like that.
I had stem cells in the surgery on my foot. It was like they were like, well, we can do this super invasive thing where we cut blah, blah, blah and do all this. Or there's this kind of like experimental thing that your insurance will totally pay everything for. And we've had good success with it. Do you want to try that? I'm like, yeah, let's do that. And part of it was like they put you on a sonogram and they pretty much scramble the like it's a sonogram like that they use for pregnant women, but they turn it up to 11, and so it kind of like scrambles your foot. And then they injected stem cells and some sort of graft and something else, and sure enough, hey, old Rusty's foot's doing awesome. So
yeah, well, the guy that he interviewed in the last one I listened to was like had 4 collapsed L discs,
yeah,
which
I didn't
is
have nothing like that.
That's like paralysis.
Yeah,
and like his shoulder is gone, and then but he's had 14 injections. His back is completely healed. He wants to get one more in his shoulder, but like he wants to return to wrestling. He's only 34, or no, he's 38. He retired at 34 because he was broken, and apparently Vince did him pretty dirty on how he wanted
Vince
to.
Is a little.
Vince is definitely a little dirty.
Yeah.
But he still made a ton of money, so that he started a nutritious supplement line that's very similar to Onnit.
Okay.
That's his personal business, and I don't know. It was a good listen. Like I know a lot of y'all like wrestling. Those are going to listen to this later, and that have been watching tonight, and you probably like what you hear. Plus, it's Stone Cold. He didn't have any rules. I mean, there's MFers and
he goes after
this and that. I mean, it's not distracting either. That's the thing is, it's fun to say a cuss word every now and again, but it can become distracting if that's like the primal focus of your
right, which is the reason we try not to on here.
I mean, I think we've gone 2 or 3 shows without saying anything that would get us kicked off the radio.
Mm-hmm. You know what's really annoying is if I want to tweet something out. Oh, I guess I can hit this tweet button here, but I thought I had to scroll all the way up. And every time I scroll up, there's new tweets, and so the part where you can tweet in the box all the way up is gone. So anyway.
Oh yeah, just use that one over there on the left.
Yeah, I found it
below the yeah.
But yeah, it was that was.
And I'm sure I'm not helping you because I've been playing around in here too.
Oh no, it's all good. Let's see. Put that in there. Put that in there.
Boom shakalaka.
And then I have to view the tweet, and then I have to pin that to our profile. Pin. And that should be everything that Rusty has to do to make podcasts happen. So we're on the top of the Twitter page. If you go to the PTM Twitter page, we are on iTunes and Google Play, and we are all done there.
Awesome.
So that is that, ladies and gentlemen. Podcast in the books. Thank you to Liz and everything else. I think we're ready to shut this thing down.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
We will talk to y'all again next week. It'll be awesome, as always.
Don't know we have yet.
Thank you, folks on the YouTube.
Me, we're going to have somebody.
Sarah, Matthew, Todd, good to see you, man. Jumpy Bob, Beast, Roger, as always. Love y'all. Thanks for hanging, and we will talk to y'all soon. See ya.
See ya.